Hi, I'm Clinton Schumann. So the technologies we used was HANA, Sybase, Unwired Platform, and Gravity. Okay. Our first scenario is basically a technician turning up at a site, and he's now gotten the customer number, customer details, the equipment, that sort of stuff to do some maintenance on a piece of equipment. And what he's going to do now is he's going to, through using our first app, put in the customer number, the equipment, to query some maintenance sales, the maintenance details, history details from the piece of equipment he's going to work on now. And it's going to query HANA and get the details and then be displayed on the SAP Business Object Explorer. This would be displayed in a graphical format so that he can basically go and use this details to decide when using our second application. So I'm going to hand over to Danny to display.
Okay, we have an issue with the SAP Business Object Explorer to connect to HANA. So what we do is we loaded the HANA with the 5 million records into HANA, and then what we do is we just use the HANA Studio to do the analytic, basically for all the piece equipment that we loaded into the system. So I'm just going to show it to you in the HANA what we've done. So as a proof that we have 5 million records in here, and then so the first table is basically that we have equipment and the service order, all the service history date that has been conducted for that piece of equipment, the service cost, and also the labor cost. The second table that we have is actually the equipment master. So we basically that in there we have the purchase cost for that piece of equipment and when is the equipment being purchased. And then from there that we created the analytic view, which is for the asset cost. So we see in here some analysis that we have. I think I have it here. So we can run based on the equipment. So we have the purchase cost, and then we have the service cost and labor cost, and then we have the filter basically based on the equipment number. So based on this, we expected this to be displayed on the Business Object Explorer to the mobile device on the technician, and then we'll have like a dashboard, and then if the service cost and then the labor cost greater than the purchase cost when the equipment are being bought, so they will basically raise kind of indicator for the service technician to send the lead, to create the lead into the SAP CRM, which is on the second business scenario that we're going to do, which is will be presented by Vicky. Maybe before that we go back into the slide first.
That brings us to the second part, or the second application, and this is now where the technician basically puts in this details he's got.
Yeah.
After.
We want to conduct the live demo, so I need to swap the projector into the other laptop.
Hi, I'm Vicky, and in the meantime, I'll just take you through the actual process we are trying to implement here. The actual process we are trying to implement here. The idea is, in case of service technicians and industries or clients where they want to service their customers and then complete the life cycle to get the service information and convert them into sales and leads. So the idea here is, whenever a technician goes to a client and maybe fixes something or looks at something, if he's able to determine what's the state of that particular equipment, whether it's end of life or it's time to replace. The technician can, through his or her mobile, can send a message to the sales rep, and the sales rep can start following up with the customer to actually chase down as a lead, as a new product. So I'll quickly demo the app, what happens here. So now this is built on the Sybase Unwired platform. So the technician can quickly search for the customer. Okay, so let's say this is the customer. That's the customer details, so he knows where to go. Then he sees what are the related service orders for the customer. Then these are the related service orders. Then he opens one of the assigned service orders. He sees the details in the service order, which particular equipment needs to be serviced, what's the date, and what's the status. And then if he feels, then that's where HANA actually gets integrated, where he sees the data and compares the data and sees what actually is the status of the equipment. If it's end of life, then he can actually create a lead from here, which actually goes directly into SAP CRM and is assigned to a sales rep. So the sales rep can then follow up with the customer to work on the new opportunity. So that's the whole idea.
Yeah, if we have 10 more seconds, probably I'll show it the... 10 more seconds. Yeah, okay. Stop it again. So 10 seconds gone. Okay, so if we log on into the SAP CRM system, through the web UI, you see this lead that's created, and then it will trigger the workflow. From the workflow, is basically it's gonna whether that lead is a hot, warm, or something like that, and then it can trigger, basically become an opportunity before pass it into the sales. All right, thank you guys.
Okay, Team 5, let me start by thanking you for your presentation. I think that was a very good one. You showed different technologies, HANA, Sybase Unwired platform. And I think you were the only team that dared to use Sybase Unwired platform. So that's great. Did you also, a question, did you also mention that you used Gravity, or did I just misunderstood that in the beginning? I did, because I didn't see it during the presentation.
Yeah, it is in the other slide, so but because only 6 minutes, so...
Okay, could we see it, please?
Yeah.
Is that okay? I would love to see it, what you did with Gravity in your project. Cool.
You can actually show this.
Okay. So that shows us the data flow from in between the systems, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the way it works is through CRM, you enter into the Sybase gateway, wherein it's interconnected. So you actually, this is where you start the customer search, and it links to CRM. And based on the customer, you see the related service orders, based on the service orders. And then in between, if we had the HANA integration, if the Business Explorer was working, then through the service orders, the technician can see what exactly is the state of different equipments. And based on that, he can actually create a lead right from the mobile. And then it goes into the CRM system, so it comes back again. Now, this particular area is where the HANA thing happens.
Uh-huh.
So that's how we have divided it. It's kind of back and forth into a lot of things, so it's kind of like this.
Okay, thanks a lot. That helped. Cheers.
Thanks.
Well, again, thanks for the presentation. I think there was a lot going on, there's a lot going on. This would have been probably quite useful to really bring it up at an earlier stages, because I have to admit I had problems following precisely what was going on sometimes. It sounded very interesting. The examples you brought are in terms of getting the data across, looks very good. Their business case, I think, is absolutely there as well. Looks very interesting too. But somehow I lost a bit the big picture in terms of how that is really flowing, how the first one connects to the other one. And I think that was primarily a matter of presentation, as that probably bringing that up would have been quite useful for that particular purpose as well. But I can see a lot of potential there, especially in terms of the mobile connection and in terms of actually using Sybase, which indeed was the only case. So thank you for that.
Thanks.
Yes, look, I think this is a good example of how to use mobile and HANA. I have some actual background in this kind of thing, so I know that there can be a lot of service data at times that people need to look at, and also, you know, people need to know when to kiss their old junk goodbye and try and get something new. So I think you've got a good business case, as Bernard was saying, and I think the application looks like it works pretty well. I liked your presentation. I think the slides were good, and overall it does seem like quite a neat solution.
Thank you.
Thank you again for your presentation. You tied together HANA, Gravity, Sybase, Unwired Platform, Sybase as the only team. And HANA Studio. I was a little bit confused in the presentation how it all tied together, but then when you showed the gravity diagram in the end, it all cleared up a bit for me. So having said that, I give you 7 points.
Probably cut it short. Similar experience, as I indicated already before. There is, I think, some unknowns in the whole thing, and considering everything else what has been before, I'm searching for my scores, and I give it a 6.
Yes.
Okay, I think this was actually a challenging problem, and I note that you used the Sybase Unwired platform and HANA, so a couple of different technologies there, and I've decided to go with an 8.
Yes.